Hello and welcome back to Eva's House of Spirit. I'm Eva, and today I'm here to address a viewer's comment on my viewer requested video, Chaos Magick and Me. I had a viewer by the screen name of Anonymous come forth with a comment asking me about if I could recommend any good sources of further information in regard to chaos magic, magic and the occult in general, and things along those lines. I thought that I would do this brief little video just because I have some links, I think some potential helpful sources to contribute to Anonymous's journey sort of exploration and seeking. So being that I have some links, which will be down in the description of this video, I thought I would come forward, and present this with a little video just saying, hey, if any of you have maybe felt the same way, you're looking for some further information, do refer to the links, the sources of information that I provide for you down in the description. I will not say that, like, hey, I'm the expert and I know the way and like these are the way. No, but and I can't possibly give you every great source of information, but knowing as much as I do, to the extent that I do, I know that certain resources maybe can help you in seeking to know more and in seeking to further your knowledge, in seeking to enhance your understanding and seeking to further your journey and along the lines of chaos magic or just magic in the occult in general. If you perhaps viewers like Anonymous might be a little bit new to this realm of sort of practice, the thing with chaos magic is it's more of a philosophy than a concrete way, because there is really no dogma. Even for those of us that abide by the 6 core principles of chaos magic, they're just kind of a loosely, I don't even want to use the word structured because it's really not structured. It's a loosely strung together sort of guide. You know what I mean? The 6 core principles are a guide. No one can really tell you how to be a chaos practitioner, but I find that the information that I have kind of put together and linked for you, I think can shed some light on sort of what the whole concept, what the concept of chaos magic is, how one would generally pursue chaos as a magical sort of philosophy, and to sort of guide their practice. If that's, I guess that's the best way I could put it. So hopefully what I have shared here with you can kind of at least give you like a general direction, a beginning point on your search for further information. And the same goes with the links that I have shared in regard to magic, the occult, all that kind of stuff. I will say, if I could recommend anything, any tips on how to go about your journey, I would say study, 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 research like crazy, be a little informational sponge, because that is how you formulate your foundation upon which you build your understanding, your theory, your practice, your methodology and everything else. It all starts with, understanding, but in the same token, I'm not saying, be afraid of practicing until, you have some sort of real solid understanding. I'm not saying bury your nose in books for 10 years before you ever practice anything. I will say, though, if you are thinking of pursuing any kind of magical workings, You may want to kind of go at your own pace. I would just say don't attempt anything that you don't feel comfortable with, or that you really sort of don't have maybe a solid understanding of, only because the better you sort of have a feel for something, or the more comfortable you feel with a sort of idea or process, or, you know, something like that, I think it'll flow better for you. And I think, how can I put it? And not just it will flow better for you, but you won't find yourself maybe getting in a little, I guess you could say, over your head, you know, like, I look at it this way. If you're going to attempt to manifest something, or you're going to attempt to, you know, utilize your ability to affect changes in conformity through will, you want to sort of have an idea of like, okay, well, assuming it were to go a little haywire, you know, like, you want to kind of have a little bit of an idea, like what you would sort of do. Like, you wouldn't want to, I guess, maybe start working on something that you wouldn't know what to do if it were to go really like crazy wild, out of control. You know what I mean? You want to have a little bit, you know, so start with maybe simple things first. It's just a suggestion. I mean, take or leave what I suggest. But I'm just saying, maybe start with things that you really feel that, you know, as you are learning, things that you feel that, okay, you know, I feel comfortable with this, and I feel like, you know, this isn't like way like over my understanding level, or way over my head, or, you know, if something were to go a little off with it, like, maybe I think I could handle this one, so I'm going to do this, you know what I mean? Other than that, I mean, I would also suggest go where you are led. You will find yourself led to certain particular paths of study or practice, you know, or certain things within those paths of study or practice. If you encounter anything that maybe is suggested somewhere or outlined somewhere that doesn't really resonate with you, don't be afraid to be like, okay, I'm going to take the rest of it, but leave that. Because you know what, you don't need to adopt everything that is suggested or brought forth by, let's say, authors of books, or people that maybe make videos or tell you things, even face to face. Certain things will suit you and certain things will not, and that's fine. You know, we are all individuals, we're all unique. We should all go where we're led, we should all do what we're comfortable with and what works for us, because what works for me, for example, may not work for you, and that's perfectly fine. You know, you got to do what suits you. Go with what furthers you as an individual. Your journey will not be like anyone else's journey necessarily. I think I think in most cases, no two journeys are alike, you know, and that's perfectly fine. Also, don't feel pressured to necessarily practice with others. Some people, like myself, prefer to sort of practice solitary. I have practiced with others. I have worked with others, alongside others, or even just in conjunction with others on the same, you know, I've worked with other people on the same goal, you know, even though we weren't necessarily like in the same room or necessarily always, you know, present with each other. But in real time, I have worked with others toward the same goals, you know, or toward the same intentions, and that's, you know, but I still, honestly, with my own work, mostly, I prefer to really work alone, and I prefer to kind of go on my journey alone. But, you know, hey, that's fine. You know, some of us will be more drawn to be solitary, and some will be more drawn to the sense of community, and that's, again, that's wonderful. But you really want to ask yourself, well, do I feel comfortable with a sense of community? Do I really want to, you know, join, you know, in with others? Which I will say, there are some paths and some practices, particularly certain ones that are, how can I put it, very, I guess you could say, enmeshed in certain cultural histories. Certain paths you kind of need to sort of get in tune and really get into that community, and the reason why is because there are certain things within those particular paths that, like, books can't teach you. You know, some paths are like that. For example, like Santeria and stuff like that. Like, you can't just like, oh, go on the internet and like get initiated. Like, you can't, you know, you really can't. It's impossible. Anybody who tells you that's true or possible, they're just lying to you. And that's not the only path where community is necessary, but not every path, you know, requires community. And I think, to a large extent, generally speaking, in regard to the magical or pagan sort of generally speaking, you know, community, and you don't necessarily have to physically be a participant in circles or covens or anything like that. That's perfectly fine. I'm sure many of you are aware of this. I'm just stating this for those who may be a little newer to exploring into this sort of realm of lifestyle and being and belief. What else could I recommend other than, oh, trust your instincts too. If you're reading something or if you're talking to someone and you don't feel, I don't know, you feel kind of like something's off, or you don't feel that you personally can rely on the information you're getting, if it feels a little off, if there's anything about that person or source of information that just, yeah, I don't know, then you know what? Heed that. Don't enmesh yourself in, you know, in sticking to a source of information just because you feel like, oh, well, I kind of have to, you know, further my study, therefore, you know, hey, I bought this book, so I kind of have to. No, no. If you feel that something is not for you, it's not for you. You know, whether it's a teacher, a book, an organization, if you don't feel that's for you, if you're feeling misgivings inside, I think you should heed those because they're there for a reason. I've always believed that animals have instincts, and we as people, because we're animals, we have instincts as well. So you should always listen to your instincts, even in terms of how people may say, well, you should do this way, you know, practice this way, set up your altar this way. Well, maybe your intuition is telling you, no, well, I feel that this different setup, you know, kind of feels more, you know, in flow for me. Well, then, you know what? Do what feels in flow for you. I would say, though, you may want to perhaps look into why someone may tell you, oh, well, this is the way you do it. Well, maybe ask, you know, research, ask the questions, you know, pose the questions, not necessarily like always verbatim. You don't have to like approach the person and be like, well, why? But, you know, you can in certain situations, but with those questions in mind, you want to maybe look into, well, why would they potentially tell me to do this way? That can help you to also, you know, maybe examine, well, if they're telling me to do this because this works well this way, and I feel better doing it this way, you know, this, you know, and maybe you're telling maybe you feel kind of like, I do this way because this works for me because of blah, blah, blah. Well, you may want to examine that other point of view, only because even if it's not for you, there is knowledge to be gained in knowing, like, where are they coming from, you know? I think it's always good sort of to understand that other side of the coin, because you can learn from that. Maybe it'll spark an idea in you, like, well, I like the reasoning behind that, I just don't like the structure, but I can achieve the same thing by doing this other thing that feels and seems in flow for me. You know what I mean? Intuitively. So consider that as well. I guess that's all I can really say in terms of what sort of advice I can give. Oh, one other thing actually that did pop into my head just now. I did almost forget to mention, I really do recommend keeping a notebook where you can write down thoughts, ideas, feelings, rights, information that you come across, anything that you may want to refer back to or keep a record of. The reason why I say rights and spells and things like that too is that when you are performing something, you want to write like what you did, you know, what time of day, that sort of thing, whatever, all those, you know, details, and then when you get your results, you can refer back to those and you can be like, okay, well, this, you know, maybe this thing here that I did didn't work out so good, so maybe I should change that, you know, and I'll try again, and, you know, well, but this worked well, or maybe you did something that worked phenomenal, and you want to, you know, you want to always keep records, because then the things that worked phenomenally for you, you will want to be able to recreate those, you know what I mean? And it's keeping a notebook like this. It's like a tool for your journey. It helps you to fine-tune your methodology, your practice, your understandings. It helps you to kind of consolidate the information and, you know, all that kind of stuff that you're like, you know, batting around and working with and working on, you know, as you go along. And this is going to be something that I think it will be an ongoing process. Most people, it's like years and years and years, if not a lifetime. I don't think anyone ever just like wakes up one day and is like, wow, I've attained all the knowledge I need. You know, no, you're always growing, you're always changing. But I think keeping notebooks too it's a good practice, because even if you're just making like journal entries in them, you can refer back to those, and you can kind of maybe see like certain patterns, lessons, things that will help you to evolve as a human being, as a spiritual being, as a magical practitioner. You know, you will take note of certain things that maybe in the moment you're not seeing, but later on when you refer back to those entries, you'll be like, wow, how did I not realize, you know, because, you know, hindsight is 20/20. And don't write for, you know, potential future readers. Write just freely. You know, it's your book. It's your transformational growth tool. You know, your little crucible into which you kind of pour yourself in order to distill and define and refine, you know, yourself as a greater and you know, more distinct, you know, human being, and a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just a more, you're sort of refining yourself as a practitioner, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to find words sometimes. It's your little crucible, you know, you are the metal that goes into the crucible. You're heating that up in your process of exploration and learning and journeying and, you know, practicing and everything else you do. And, you know, out comes this beautiful piece of gold over time, you know, or whatever, this distilled little metal. That's what I meant to say, you know, all the impurities, you're kind of working on getting those out. And I'm not saying impurity like in any kind of derogatory way. I'm talking about, you know, we as human beings, we all have parts of ourselves or issues or whatever that, you know, we work on. We all have our shit. We all have our baggage. Well, you know, I think I mean, it could be wrong, but I think the beginning and the most basic foundation really of any journey or practice is, you know, working on your shit, cleaning up your backyard, refining yourself so that when you affect changes, you know, in reality, through your will, through your intention, you are really coming from this, like, you're doing so as the best version of yourself. That's what I meant to say. So now, I think I've said everything that I could possibly say on this topic. I hope that the links that I share with you below are helpful, and I hope that this video really does sort of address your comment in a helpful way, Anonymous. And with that said, I bid you a good night. I bid you blessed be and ashe. I hope to, you know, see you kind of around my channel more often. And if you have any other questions, comments in the future, please, you know, feel free to bring those forward. As for everyone else, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, feelings, any suggestions you may want to potentially throw out on the comment section of this video in regard to where one might want to go to access some more information on, let's say, Chaos Magic, Magic, the Occult, if they are new, you know, to the path or to the, you know, journey of exploration as Anonymous is. If you could recommend anything that I have not recommended, I welcome you, please, you know, share those in the comments, you know, for others or for Anonymous. And yeah, I guess till our next exchange, bye-bye for now.